Hi there, friend. It's Pastor Greg. You're watching Transforming the World. We're talking about efficiency all this week in our study of the Disciples' Journal. Were you aware that the Lord actually gave us instructions on how to worship or how to conduct a worship service? Were you aware of that? God, speaking through the Apostle Paul, God actually gave instructions on what our worship services were to be like. Did you know that? It is supposed, our worship services and these instructions that God gives through Paul, it's supposed to be done according to God, according to Paul. Our worship services are supposed to be conducted efficiently. 1 Corinthians 14 is where we are headed today. Stick around. We'll examine efficiency on Transforming the World. I'll be right back. You know, the worship services at the church in Corinth, they were a disaster. I mean, you had folks standing up while the preacher was teaching, and they would rattle off something nonsensical. I mean, they literally babbled incoherently in the middle of the church service. It was supposed to be, the people claimed that, I was sharing something in a supernatural language, you know. The Holy Spirit gave me this word and I uttered it, but it was incoherent. No one could understand it. In fact, no one could interpret it because it wasn't any kind of language that was spoken at all anywhere on earth. It was babble, incoherent babble. The problem was that these disruptions, what was being done, what was being said, and it was happening by multiple people at the same time. What was being said had no meaning at all, and it was disruptive. So Paul, as he's writing in 1 Corinthians 14, he actually scolds these folks. He says in verse 9 of 1 Corinthians 14, he says, unless you use your tongue for intelligible speech, how will what is spoken be known? That's a pretty bold rebuke. Unless you're standing up and saying something that people can understand, sit down and be quiet. I mean, that's my paraphrase. The church in Corinth was worshiping inefficiently. There was chaos and disorder. So Paul gives them some instructions, again, verses 26 through 32 of 1 Corinthians 14. One person should speak at a time. This is my summary. One person should speak at a time. What is said should be understood by all, either through the speaker or through an interpreter. And he reminds the church that in verse 33, he reminds the church in Corinth, he says, God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. So there should be some efficiency and some order in the worship services there at the church in Corinth. So why is this necessary? Why is it necessary for a church to function with order and efficiency? Because without it, says Paul, an outsider or a guest might come to church and think, these people are out of their minds. That's verse 23. Paul says that. You might have a visitor come in, you'll have a guest come in and say, what the heck is going on here? These people are insane. And so there needs to be some efficiency and order, writes Paul. Order and efficiency in our worship. Think about this. Order and efficiency in our worship, according to Paul, it enables our guests to grasp what is happening and what is being said. There should not be chaos, Paul says in verse 24. And so at fcob, Frederick Church of the Brethren, we strive for excellence in our time of worship. We do. We strive for efficiency. We try to keep things moving along as smoothly as we possibly can. We desire to be as clear and concise as we can, not because we're OCD, well, at least not because some of us or not OCD. But anyway, because we want to present the good news of Jesus as efficiently as we can. That's what the Lord conveyed, not just to the church in Corinth, but I believe the Lord has conveyed that to us through the Apostle Paul. And I, for one, I wholeheartedly agree that our worship services should clearly and succinctly explain the good news of Jesus Christ as efficiently as we possibly can. I am thankful for one thing, though, as I read over this passage in 1 Corinthians. I'm very, very thankful that Paul did not write anything against the telling of jokes in church. I'm Pastor Greg, and you have been watching Transforming the World.